In a world where truth hides in the shadows, faith still shines through. Where the seen and unseen collide, when everyone else is of the world, we are the Not of This World podcast. Welcome to the Not of This World podcast. Please like, share, subscribe.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today's December 31st, and you guys haven't seen us in a while. My name's Steve. This is my friend Josh.
What's up, guys? Yeah, we've had a little break for the holidays, but we're back on New Year's Eve.
So today we're going to be talking about the joy of the Lord, and I'm continuing my journey of not doing screens. So I was just sharing with Josh that I think I'm going to do 0 screens, and hopefully we can talk about some of the things that are bringing us joy in our life right now.
Definitely. Yeah, so you said that you've been kind of doing audiobooks and you'll still watch like shows or movies like at the end of the night or something or yeah.
And I'm a dork, so I play video games still.
Oh, okay.
And but I haven't in a year or more. And I just started like being like, I have so many games that I never played that I'm like, I'm getting on and playing some games. It's not so much that like I can justify that normally because I'm like, there's so much I have to do. I have so much on my plate that I'm finding more free time to do the things that I want to do. So it's been nice and focusing on my family a bit more. You know, when you don't have that screen in front of you,
yeah,
you're starting to look around and you're like, what do I need to do to show my family we need?
So you really haven't gone like 100% no screens. It's really just been no YouTube. Like no taking part in all of these videos and news that wrap you up in the day-to-day stuff.
100%. I wanted to check out from the ride is what I keep saying to myself. Like I don't want to ride the roller coaster anymore.
Okay.
But it is interesting because I'm probably unique in this that I do use my YouTube for music because I like watching music videos. And so I'll plug things on, I'll press play for like my worship playlist. It's all music videos. So if I'm going to turn it on, I see the headlines. And there's so many salacious like things that like I used to be like, I wouldn't even get to my music. I'd be like, well, I need to find out why AI is going to ruin our entire world in the next week, you know? Yeah. And then you'll see the next headline. It's like everything that's salacious, everything that's, you know, such clickbait titles. And you end up watching something that's a half hour long and you'll be like, they didn't even really talk about the title. Like, how did I end up watching half an hour?
They'll mention it once really quick about like something that's like, oh, really? That was what's changing the world right now or whatever, you know?
Yeah. But I do think it's a walk in life. Like, you talk about the joy that you get from the Lord and the great Christian philosopher, Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm joking around, but, no, I know, but I do love Matthew McConaughey.
I was going to say, I like Matthew McConaughey. He's cool.
He has a speech that I think I've shared with you once.
Yeah.
That he talks about, and I think he gave it a college, like he's doing college graduation.
That's the one I'm thinking of. He's at the college graduation. Yeah.
And he talks about happiness. And he says, happiness is not what you want to chase in your life. And I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, it's result reliant. He's like, basically, you're going to have to chase happiness every day of your life. Now, joy is something different. Joy is not result reliant. Joy is something you carry with you every day, regardless of your outcomes. And I think that's a beautiful way of summarizing what your relationship is supposed to be like with God.
Mm-hmm.
And the joy he will bring with you when you give to him in a relationship. I was just wondering, Josh, do you have a Bible verse of the day for us?
There are so many when we're talking about joy. So it was hard to narrow down. I mean, I even copied like 7. I don't think I'm going to read all 7 right now.
I understand.
It's there's so many because it's such, like you said, it's such an important part of your walk with the Lord. Mm-hmm. Before we started recording, Steve was talking to me today about my personal life that I've been going through some stuff and you know, financial stuff, some just different things, right, that I'm dealing with my personal life that I've talked to Steve about because we're friends, not just doing a podcast where we talk about other things off the podcast. And it's, you know, Steve was just mentioning how, you know, you might think someone has everything's just great all the time, especially when you're looking at a screen, you're watching someone show, you just assume things are great all the time, but they're not and that's just not realistic for anyone, for no matter who you're talking about. You could be talking about the wealthiest celebrity in the world. I guarantee they have their problems. They have things going on, and they put a smile on their faces when they get in front of the screen. Um, but that's something I truly do try to keep the joy of the Lord in my life at all times. So even when I'm going through the hardest things, I have to stop myself and just be like, this is all temporary. Like everything is going to be fine. God always comes through, and sometimes we don't see where his plans are leading us. But God, I mean, it says it in the Bible. God's always working for the good. So no matter what, we might not see exactly what's happening in that moment that's bothering us or that's making our life difficult in the moment, but he is always working it for the good, and you just have to trust that. And when you can trust that, when you can just be like, this too shall pass, then you'll just get that joy back. And that's what's so important. When you walk with that joy, it's allowing the Lord's light to shine through you. And as Christians, that's the most important thing we can do is be the light for the world. So I just wanted to say that really quick before I go into the verses. But here we go. So let's go with a little Old Testament. So just to show you, there's Old Testament and New Testament talking about the joy. But we've got Nehemiah 8:10. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. That one I love, and I love the song, the joy of the Lord is my strength. It always gets stuck in my head. I love that one though. That's just a great verse. Another Old Testament, we got it in the Psalms. Psalm 16:11. You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. It's just cool to note that he mentions in your presence there is fullness of joy. So
Yeah.
the presence of the Lord is joy that completes the joy inside of us. So to me, I take that as, get into your secret place, pray, be alone in the presence of God, and that's going to renew your joy.
Yeah.
And then let's go with a little New Testament, John 15:11. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. Again, relating all the way back to Psalms, that the presence of the Lord, the Lord Jesus Christ in us, and that our joy is full from that. Let's do one more here. Man, deciding between these two. Okay, let's just go with 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Jesus Christ for you. It doesn't necessarily mention joy, but it's it's talking about joy because rejoicing. But that one's just interesting to me because I always think of that, pray without ceasing. What does that mean to you?
I think we touched on it in one of our earlier podcasts when I was asking you, how do you pray? And we kind of agreed we do it constantly. And it's like the inner voice inside of me. It's a dialogue I have with God. I don't just sit down and kneel all the time. I carry God with me throughout the day. So when some things I face something that's hard or something that's great, I gave God praise. Like it's the small things, the big things, whatever it is. Like it's constant. God's with me. The Holy Spirit is in me and constantly moving with me, regardless of like sitting down and trying to be silent to listen to it.
Yep.
So
yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you do this also, but like I start my day. I wake up before my family and I go into my secret place, which is literally just at the kitchen table, because the house is silent and I've got it to myself at that time. And I start my day every day with prayer. And for me, that allows me to start the day with joy because I am in the presence of Lord. I'm in the presence of the Lord to start my day every day, and I'm giving him thanks and I'm praising him and I'm bringing his presence into my atmosphere. And carrying that with me throughout the day. To me, there's no better way to start the day, but like you said, then it's carrying him with you throughout the day and constantly thinking about God in all that we do throughout the day.
I will justify. I'll back up everything you're saying right now because you've always been the kind of person that when I've been around you in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I'm a little grumpy, and it takes me about 45 minutes for my coffee to kick in before I become social. But you've always been, even when you're in the Marines, you were like, you wake up and you were like, let's go, let's kick today's butt and let's rock and roll. And I just think that's awesome that you're because you're the kind of person that I get around that you pick my energy up and I get going right away. So like when we work together in the Marines or out of the Marines, I've always been like so excited when I see you because I know that it's gonna be a good day when you're there, you know?
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Um, we for anyone who's been paying attention to us talk about what we've been our podcast, like and me doing my like challenge for myself with no screens. Josh had suggested to me a video right when we started about getting off screens, which was a great video. Um, but there was a video that I shared with Josh recently, and he's watching it. It's called "The Deep End" with Taylor Welch, and he interviews a Christian woman named Wendy Backlund, and the episode specifically is called "Belief of Spiritual Death." Um, and I had made a whole entire podcast for us to do on it, and there was a lot of things happening in the world when we started the podcast, so we never even got around to using the videos. But it's all these things that were happening right when we started that if I just would have listened to God and what he was moving through, I think we could have made some really good podcasts that might have changed how things started. We can't change what we did in the past.
No.
But I showed Josh this video recently and you said you'd already seen it as well, but you rewatched it? Is that
So I don't think I had seen that. I'd seen
Okay.
her before. Like, because the
Okay.
further I got into, like at first when I started watching it, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this. But the more I watched it, I was like, well, I don't remember any of these parts. So I clearly saw her on something else, and that's what it reminded me of. But she's awesome.
Yeah, I like you said before, well, so I had watched it more than once. And since I'm getting off screens, my one little stipulation was I can rewatch anything I've seen from the past, so I'm not going to change my current circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched that video like it was like I'd never heard it before, and it's just so many like nuggets of like good knowledge for a Christian to listen to because she's not coming at you like she's some juggernaut of the faith that has all the answers. She's literally saying like it's a rebirth every morning. You're giving yourself to God and you're like going like I completely trust you, God. And like that joy you're gonna find from that, it's just it's humbling and it's something that I have to do so many times. I tell that to guys that are like they think I can be a leader to them. I'm like, dude, I'm not the leader, it's God.
Yeah.
Because like I have to constantly anytime I think I've got this, I have to stop and be like, dude, you do not have this together. God is working through you.
100%. And you know how I was talking about when we first started the podcast today, just how I've been going through some stuff. It's constantly resetting yourself. Like just in the last day and a half, like God has revealed certain things to me, just certain things that have been put in front of me, certain thoughts that I've never thought before, that I've had realizations of like how to be closer to God, how to really to receive that joy and to fully trust.
Yeah.
And it has like raised me back up to just like so joyful. Like literally, I mean, it's a perfect time that we're doing this episode because no joke, like last night going into this morning, like in prayer, I'm just like so thankful because it's one of those times where and you know how it is as a Christian, you have your roller coaster, right? Like God kind of reveals something to you, or you kind of like just come to the realization that you're, not trusting in this way or doing whatever. And you get that like high where you're just like, yes, like if I can just stay in this
Yeah.
feeling, this moment right now, nothing in life will ever be wrong. And
Right.
then, you go through the daily life and you've got the outside world coming at you. And then you go through periods where you're just like, just going through the motions. And today is one of those, times. And I hopefully try to make it last as long as I can and remember, what was revealed to me that I can stay in that, you know?
It is tough because I think like for you, what I hear from you and when I what I think as well is you can wake up and when you're giving your life to God, you're enough. No
Hmm.
matter what, like you are more than enough and you are perfectly made. And then you go to face the world and there's never enough of you. And you're always going to get beat down by the world. Like you just can't do enough in a day to make it feel like it's worth it. Like you can never get caught up. It's always more and more and more. Where
Hmm.
like you have to approach it as if like you're good. And that's not the easiest thing to do.
Nope. But that goes into trust.
Hmm.
Just 100% trusting, like just constantly looking at the things around you and remembering this world does not matter. This can't
Yeah.
get me down. Like finances, relationship struggles, just, any daily thing. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just like literally laughing at it. Just like this world's not going to get me down. Like
Yeah.
I've got God. I'm literally have the Holy Spirit inside of me and God is with me. What can possibly be wrong? Like,
Yeah. I think sometimes you also when you're walking with God, it is a relationship. And so like sometimes you don't feel like you've changed very much.
hmm.
But sometimes you need to ask somebody who has seen you change how much they think you've changed because you don't see it in yourself all the time. You see yourself in
That
the mirror every single day. It's like a little kid growing in front of you. If you
mhm.
haven't seen them in a few months, you see them, you're like, oh my gosh, you've grown so much. And the parents are like, oh, I guess you haven't seen them in
Yeah, I
about
didn't even
6 months.
notice because I see him every day.
Right. It's kind of like how your spiritual growth is. Like, 6 months later, you're this entirely different person, but you've been with yourself every day. So you don't see the changes. But another person who hasn't seen you in a while is gonna be like, oh my gosh, like, do you see
It's
Steve? He's totally living his life totally differently now. He's a completely different person.
it's a great point because the enemy will get in your head too. When
Hmm.
you think, you're trying to walk with God, you're trying to be sanctified daily and hoping to be more holy each and every day that we live. But then you get in these times where you're just like, what have I done? Like
Yeah.
I'm still this like I don't deserve any of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just you go
Yeah.
through those moments and then you just have to get behind me, Satan.
Well, that's like the to your point about the whole bring up Satan is like he wants to make you believe that if you do one thing wrong or you sin,
Hmm.
you're no longer rather like you can't be in the presence of God anymore. You're not worthy of His time, which is the farthest thing from the truth. That's the biggest lie. Is you've got to acknowledge that like the sin has been washed clean by Jesus when you accepted Him, and even when you did it, as long as you repent, you're golden. Like you just got to get back in relationship, which
Yep.
is that's a tough part I think for some people.
Yeah. They hang on to the guilt and they believe the lie that the enemy's telling them in their head that you're
Yeah,
not enough or that God won't forgive you for this.
right.
And
And it's tough doing making content for people because we're trying to come at everything being very humble, and I think that's a difficult thing to do because we want to be relatable and we want to give people fellowship through this, but we also you don't tune in for two people who like I don't know anything. Let's watch some videos and talk about it. Like we do have authority. We do know we have the power of the Lord working through us, but we want to come at things and be like we're not trying to teach you something. We're trying to be in it with you to learn. But I do find that if we get around people who know less about the Bible or things like that, we do come at people with more authority out of loving way, you
hmm.
know. But it's just everyone's a critic on online, everyone's the best at everything online. So
Oh, absolutely. You can't let any of that get to you, you know?
100%. The videos that I have, Josh, literally,
Yep.
if anybody, I already recommended what it was. It was the Deep End with Tyler Welch. Um, and I want to play one of the videos for you. Start off. We don't have to watch too many videos today. I have about 20 minutes worth, and they're all broken up in about 5 minute segments. But like, I literally couldn't even break down the episode. It's 2 hours long, and I couldn't not keep everything in it. It's just such a good episode to me, at least. Whenever you're ready, I'd like to show you like the first 5 minutes, and then however many we
Yeah,
get
yeah.
to,
So
we get to it.
we're gonna cover just kind of one of the topics of the video, which is joy, and like
Hmm.
Steve said earlier. But also, like Steve said, I if definitely go back and watch this episode because it is 2 hours long. If we tried doing the whole episode, we would have had to make a 6 hour show.
Yeah.
But go back. I'm sure Steve will put the link to this episode in our comment or in whatever in our info, and it's well worth watching. But yeah, we're just gonna cover a little of it today and talk about joy.
So what I'm really excited about is going through, whenever somebody writes a book like this, I know because you don't just come up with this.
Yep.
You live it, you suffer, you have to learn about yourself and about God. So I just want to talk about how did you do this? Like the stuff that you wrote in this book, it clearly came from having failure, believing the wrong things, doing the wrong things. So when did you even figure out that your belief system was the culprit for you not having power in your relationship with God?
Well, it's been a journey, but in the 1990s, Steve and I read a book by Francis Frangipane, and I think it was called The Three Battlegrounds. And I only remember one phrase from the whole book, but it said, any area of your life that doesn't glisten with hope means you're believing a lie, and that area is as a stronghold of the enemy in your life. And it was like, it was the first time I really stopped to think about my thoughts as separate from myself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Totally.
I thought I was my brain. I thought I was my thoughts. And he took me on this journey of, no, your brain is like a computer and you're living off old software. And it was like, it was the most hope-filled thing I could do to realize, oh, I'm not stuck in my life. All I have to do is change what I believe. And then I remember hearing someone say, if you want a different feeling, you need a different thought. And it was like everything became, okay, what do I need to believe to have hope for that? And I started questioning every thought, every belief. But then what really took it deeper was I thought I believed the Bible. I mean, I'd been a Christian for at least 15 years at this point. And if somebody would have said, do you believe the Bible? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. And then one day God said, do you believe I'm going to meet all your needs? And I'm like, oh yeah, I quoted scripture at him, the whole deal. And he goes, then why are you worried? And I'm like, but do my emotions have to believe it too? And he said, that's how you'll know you believe it.
Wow.
And that was the whole journey of, okay, there's a conscious belief system. It's what I want to believe. And there's a subconscious system. And so it just was a journey of questioning everything. And because I knew most of it was subconscious, I began to question every time I had an emotion, every time I responded a certain way. And he was so gentle, because even I remember I was going to have a meeting with a lady who was just, I needed to confront her about some things she was doing in the church. And I'm not a confronter. I'm an introvert. I'm like, just get along,
It's like an Enneagram 9.
Yeah. And so I'm like dreading this confrontation with this lady. And I remember the exact moment. I'm 2 hours away from the meeting. I'm vacuuming and I have this thought. I wish I could be sick so I don't have to go to this meeting. I mean, literally being sick sounded more fun. And he said, why are you dreading this meeting? And I'm like, well, you know what she's like. She's argumentative, she's defensive, she's angry and bitter. I just don't want to do it. And he goes, well, if that's your belief for the meeting, I don't want you to go. And I immediately realized, okay, he's not giving me permission to cancel. He's telling me I need a different belief. And so my belief, it was like, well, these are the facts. She's an angry, bitter woman. What other fact is there? And he said, well, right now you have more faith in what she carries than in what you carry. you think the spirit that she's carrying is what will drive the meeting instead of the spirit that you're carrying.
Jeez.
And I'm like, oh, so what should my faith be in? And he said, you carry a spirit of love and nourishing. You need to believe that your spirit will ride on your words. And it shifted everything. I mean, the meeting went fine. It was like just this wake-up call about everything that I thought were facts were really just conclusions. And I was focusing on circumstances rather than on the spirit behind it all. But
boom. What did you take from that part of this?
Honestly, I've been thinking about it differently every time I see it. Right now, I was just thinking about when we were in the Marines together, and we had a gentleman that got brought into our platoon later in our training, and he was a senior Marine, so he was going to be in charge of people. And I just remember him walking around his first 2 days, just kind of monitoring everything and being very quiet, just okay. And on day 3, he comes out of nowhere and is this humongous jerk. And he starts to try to dictate to everybody. And as the leaders see him do it and that are in charge of everybody, they're like, well, we're going to make this guy in charge of a lot of things because he's getting stuff done. He literally saw an opportunity, he took it, but he did everything in a way that was like a dictatorship. And he barked at everybody and he made everyone feel very uncomfortable, where you were one of the people in that position as well. And that was not your leadership style. You led by example, and you were a firm leader, but you were also, I hate to use the word kind, but you weren't. What he was doing was completely opposite. But it was her listening to her talk about how people control a room and how when you're around this guy that wasn't a good leader, it was going to be a bad day for you whenever he was in charge of you. But the minute you got around your leadership, it was like, okay, we've got this. This is a team effort. We're going to rock out. And like, it just made me think of that as we're talking about it. But I've had a few different points when I've listened to this about like going into rooms with people and having somebody control the energy of a room, even people in my family. And you're like, do I trust that God puts enough in me where I can outshine that person's darkness? And the truth is, sometimes I don't have that with me. Like I'm like, that's why I think this was a great thing to listen to more than once, and I have. There's a lot of good reminders in here that daily you got to carry with you that you have a light inside you that you got to let shine.
Absolutely. I think the word you're looking for when you're talking about that, dictator leader versus my style is, I feel like I've always tried to do things through love, and love isn't what people always think of it as, is, me giving you a hug and love you, man. Love is, letting that light shine through and caring for each and every individual that you're overseeing, that you're on a team with. And, caring doesn't mean just hugging and being, all kumbaya. It's caring that each and every person understands their responsibility and is good at what they're supposed to do, but feels, part of that team together. Yeah. And that to me is showing love, being able to bring people together and care for each individual. And I think, the other side of it, I know exactly who you're talking about. And that was pure fear-based leadership. There was no love in it at all. It was, you will fear me and you will listen to me. And it doesn't matter, if you don't, you'll go down, know? And it's just two different styles. But like you're saying, no, that, and like she said, we've all experienced, I think everyone who hears what she's talking about has felt that, where you're just like, I don't want to go to this. Like, I don't want to be around this. I don't want to whatever. And it really is like, can I make my light shine brighter? Can I raise the room rather than let this person take the room down?
Yeah. We were at church not too long ago, and I wanted to say hi to my pastor and share a story with him about something that happened on our vacation over the summer. I shared it with you and maybe on the podcast about how we ran into different people from our church and stuff, and people who, like, I don't tell every pastor story, but a long story short, I shared it like a really cool story with him.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, I asked him, I'm like, do you look at us specifically when you're doing your sermon? He's like, absolutely. But I think about what you're talking about, the presence you bring, because like let's just say he starts off and we know it's gonna be a tithing sermon. And we tithe, so we're kind of like, okay, we'll listen to what you have to say again, Bill. But he has to do it.
Yeah.
But I just know specifically on those days when I can see everyone around is just checking out, like, okay, here we go, tithing. But and he'll be looking at him like me. I can just feel his eyes on me. But me laughing at what he's saying and me being engaged. He's like, you mean you bring so much from me knowing I'm being heard? And you don't think that you need, as a pastor, that kind of affirmation. But that's bringing that light that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
So being
Yeah,
that
of
light
course
for somebody that's bringing a hard message, and you're like, I'm here for you. So,
yeah. You're a rock for him to stand on in that moment.
right.
And it's good. I mean, of course, pastors are people. People,
Right.
like I don't think everyone sees it as that. You put them on the pedestal and they're up on a stage higher than you, but they're human beings who have to go through all the same emotions we do. Which, speaking of emotions, that's what I took out of what she said, and it's something that when I watched this a couple weeks ago, that's something I've been working with the Lord since is, do your emotions match what my thoughts or my words? And I've been realizing what that means and how how to implement that in my life more. And that one alone has been a big thing for me. And that's something that kind of a huge realization in the last day, like I was talking about earlier, that's come to me where it's just like, I get it. I get it. Now I know how to move forward. Like now I
Yeah.
know where I'm going with this. And that was a huge one for me because that's trusting fully in the Lord. You can't just say, I trust in the Lord. Everything will be okay. Your emotions have to know, like, I am fine. Like, you have to feel it inside. Like, everything is fine. It truly is. I'm not just saying the words. My entire being matches the words I'm saying, that I know for certain. Like, literally nothing could stop it from being fine.
Yeah, you'll see it in certain people when they live their life that way. They seem unshakable.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's like to your truth, like me and you are completely different people. Where you and I, like, say we have a disagreement, or we don't have we don't agree upon something, and we can start talking about it, and we can be passionate about it. And you can walk away from it, and maybe you'll think about it for a little bit longer, and then you're done. Like you're moving on to your part of your life that you have to move on to. Where I am not that person. I'll think about it all day long, and like I carry it with me, and like think about it. And I'm thinking I'm like, that's something I need to correct, because like I need to be a little bit more like you, but like meaning in my relationship with God needs to be closer. Where I'm like, dude, don't let this shake you. This doesn't. You can think about things, but you can't let it control you.
Yeah.
So I'm learning too, man. It's definitely not something that happens overnight. Like we talked about a child growing. Like it's definitely you gotta sometimes wait 6 months to look back and like, oh, he actually is changing me. It's not just
Yeah.
an overnight thing.
Of course. It's something that starts, the moment that you are born again, and it's a constant process until the day you leave this earth. Like I hope when I'm 80 whatever years old that I'm still growing, that I'm still learning more from the Lord and still becoming more holy each day. That's the way I like to try to put it, becoming more holy each day. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing relating to the Bible. Because I think for me at least, and I don't remember your timetable either. I didn't start reading the Bible every single day until a few years ago. And it's been really neat to go back and reread it over and over and over again, because it's just like in the same way that you have to keep on working on your spiritual self with God. The Bible works through everything with you. And so you might read the Old Testament part of it in one day and be like, I didn't get anything much out of that. It didn't move me. You might read that same passage a year later and be like, dude, it changed your life. Like,
Yeah.
it's just amazing how it works like that. And like, I think God's the same way. Like, you might have a day where you didn't feel the presence of the Lord all over you. And you're gonna have to manufacture what you want from God, like in your body. Like you want to think it's like this always this glowy, warm feeling, and some days it's not. Some days it's He's with you, but he's just carrying you through it. It's you're the one having the doubt, you're the one having the problem, but that's part of the human experience.
Yeah, there's a part in the Bible, I can't remember. It's somewhere Old Testament. I wish I could remember exactly where, but it's talking about like God hiding from us and us having to seek him.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I'm not going to go any further. Anyways, but the point is like, yes, God's presence isn't on you at all times in that feeling. Sometimes we have to really seek him. We have to find him. He's hiding and he's doing it on purpose because he wants us to have to find him because it's going to reveal certain things on that path to finding him in that moment.
To reference a different part of the Bible, it's when Adam ate from the tree of knowledge of the good of evil, and he essentially runs and hides from God. I think that's like a really good indicator of like how we deal with sin as well. You go out your day, you sin somewhat, and then you feel like you're not worthy to be around God. And so God's like, hey, Adam, where are you? Like, I know everything you've done. I'm here for you. But he's the one hiding, like a little kid, and be like, he's gonna know I did something wrong. You don't want to face it. But that's how we face things as humans. And like it's just it's easy to sit here and say like, I never do that. That's not the truth. If I've done something really wrong, I you go to church and you're like, everyone's like, oh, you're this good man, you're this good husband. And you're like, if you really knew me, I'm not worthy of anyone's love. But that cycle repeats. And the more you run away from God, the more you're not going to be cleansed of it.
Yeah.
So
like it's that dog that like chews up your shoe and you see him over in the corner with his tail between his legs, just like, I know I screwed up. Uh-oh.
Yeah, 100%. I'd love to get into more of the video if you're ready to.
Yeah, let's see the next part of the video.
I just want to make sure you didn't have anything else to add.
Nope.
All right.
What I'm talking about, we do a lot of teaching on beliefs and feelings, and the neurotransmitters and the neurochemistry of belief and feeling. And what's interesting is a thought and a feeling are inseparable in like neurochemistry. You can't actually define this is a thought versus a feeling because they just link together. But I've said that your feelings are fruit. That's all a feeling is. And you have this in your book. You said emotions do not validate truth. They validate what we believe, which is kind of that same statement of like what you believe is actually seen through what you feel and the fruit. I was doing a word study on the fruit of the Spirit one time. And I was like, this sounds like a lot of emotions.
It is.
We have a problem because
I've meditated on that because it is.
Yeah. And then people get so mad. They're like, the fruit of the Spirit is not emotions. I'm like, no, it's fruit. A thought is the seed, and the feeling is the fruit. This is how it works. Yeah,
and that's why a lot of people can't produce the fruits of the Spirit because they're trying to do something without changing what they believe.
Yeah,
and it just becomes work, and you can't consistently do it.
Yeah.
Wait, can you say that one more time?
Good luck, Jake.
And that's why people have trouble producing the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to produce it just by doing. They're trying to work up an emotion. And you can't work up emotion. Emotion has to be a fruit of a belief system. It's kind of like when God started talking to me about joy. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I have to be happy too. I mean, we were pastoring. At that point, I was tired all the time because it's like 24/7 giving out to people. And he starts talking about joy and how important it is. And I'm like, I can't work up joy. I mean, I already know that this is impossible. I can do it, on a good day. And he said, I don't want you to work it up. I want you to understand that joy is a fruit of good beliefs.
Yes.
So all the fruits of the Spirit, you can't work them up. You can't even work up self-discipline. You have to have a belief system to produce self-discipline. if that makes sense.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense because there are things in my life that have only changed because of beliefs, things that I've tried to force, like fitness, health, literally hasn't changed until the belief shifted. What does that look like for someone with joy? What did that look like for you? And by the way, it's funny that you said joy because that was the exact one I was going to ask you about anyway. Very funny.
Yeah. It first started with him showing me that I never laughed out loud. I'm a very self-contained introvert type person. So if somebody gave a joke, I would laugh on the inside. That's funny. You know?
Yeah.
And so in the mid 1990s is when the joy broke out. And Steve and I went to Toronto and nothing happened to me. Everybody else is falling on the floor laughing, and nothing for Steve either. But we came away with this understanding of how God values joy. And he said, the reason so many ministers are burning out in ministry is because they don't have the oil of joy. And in the unseen realm, joy is literally the oil for the engine. And if you don't have oil in an engine, it seizes up and it literally burns out. And so he just began to talk to me about how important it was. And the first thing he said is, I want you to start laughing out loud. And he even, during devotions, he would say, go read jokes and laugh out loud. And at first I'm like, I don't like laughing out loud. It feels so fake. It didn't sound right. And he said, it's not fake, it's rusty. It's been so long since I had laughed out loud. And so he had me read jokes. He would gently remind me when I was laughing on the inside to laugh out loud. And it was almost like a muscle I had to redo, but I also had to change some beliefs that was preventing my joy. And like I talk in the book, one of the biggest things is I felt like I didn't have permission to be joyful until I was perfect. You know, the difference between religion and having a relationship is religion only celebrates perfection and families celebrate progress. So any religious church, there's not going to be any joy because everybody's waiting for everybody to get it right. You know, when my spouse gets it right, I'll be joyful. When I get it right, I'll be joyful. And instead, he began to say, I want you to actually celebrate all the little good things you've done. And literally, like some mornings, he would have me jump up and down just as a discipline of, yes, I got up on time this morning. I celebrated the little things, and celebration helps shift your mindsets.
Yep.
But I think that was the biggest thing for me, was recognizing what lies are stealing my joy. And perfection was number one. Doing it correctly. Fear. The weird thing is I was pretty happy till I became a Christian. And then the religion, the duty, because I was always a failure at it.
Yeah. The law.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
But-
Deep stuff, huh?
Dude, so this whole part is what resonated with me so much, because I feel that, like, since becoming, a Christian, since this walk, I catch myself being so serious. And I feel like I've been a joyful person in my life. And, but with this, it's like constantly like judging myself. And I don't know if that's the enemy getting in or if it's just in ourselves, but taking that step back and, like she said, celebrating the little things, celebrating just life, celebrating. It's so important because, like, I'll literally just be like, so serious, thinking like, man, I haven't, who have I evangelized to? Who have I talked to God about? And, like I haven't talked to anybody about God. What am I doing? And like you start to like, to judge yourself on all of the things that you don't think you're being perfect on, and you get weighed down by it. And it's
Yeah.
really easy to do, but man, no, you have to have, like she said, that oil for the engine to
Hmm.
keep it going so you don't burn out. And it's joy is that.
Yeah, my mom always said to me, you can give up your light, but do not give your oil. And I never really got what she meant by that for the longest time when I was younger. Because I do agree with you 100%. Like you and me are pretty joyful people naturally. But as life has progressed and we became parents and husbands and added more and more to our plate, we became really serious. And we went to a men's conference for a Christian conference year ago, give or take. And I just remember on our way there, I was like, I was going to be on a mission to make you have a good time.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to make it sure that we don't have our kids with us, we don't have our wives with us. I'm stripping it all down and going to go back to like when we were in the Marine Corps together. And all we did was we weren't mean to each other, but we just picked on each other in a way that we both started laughing because the things we'd say to each other were so outrageous that
Yeah.
I started doing it with you. And you were like, wait, no, why are you doing this? But I just remember it took about a minute and you were like, we're doing this. And we just started going back and forth, but we laughed so much. Like, I just had a good time, and like it
Yeah.
was like opened us up to big being with God and like that feeling of joy. Not every circumstance in that men's event was perfect and fun, but we laughed the entire time and we had a good time. I tried
Yeah.
to do that with all the other guys, and you can bring it into your life, even though we've got all these heavy things that happen. You can still choose to look at things and go, you know what? At least it's not raining. And then when it rains, you start laughing. You're like, okay, well, now what are we going to do with now? What are we going to do next?
Yeah.
And it's easy to say that when things are going well, but you got to remind yourself when it's not going well. And that is that overcoming that emotion that, I mean, I don't know if it's from the devil or not, but it's definitely not from God. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it is a natural progression to get a little more serious when you've got kids and family, because you have to be in certain times and certain moments. But if you look at, you go and look at like a group of 80-year-olds, right?
Hmm.
Hearing what she's talking about and thinking about it in our own daily lives, you see those older people who are just serious, angry, miserable. And then you'll see that like 180-year-old that's just like smiling and happy and so joyful all the time. And it's like, if you aren't careful throughout your life, especially now in our middle ages, like I don't want to end up that miserable, angry, cranky old person.
Hmm.
I want to be that one that, like, for instance, like in my restaurant, that I'll just, this one lady, she walks in and she is so full of light.
Hmm.
Everything about her is love and peace and happiness, and you can just feel it off of her. And it's
Hmm.
like, that's who I want to be like when I'm old.
Right.
Like that's what I want to, and it's being careful now in these times, because you can easily go the other way, right?
Right. Well, like relating this to just we just got past Christmas, and this we talked about doing this episode before Christmas, and it just wasn't going to work out with everything going on in our lives. But so now we're looking at it in hindsight, right? And I'm on vacation up north about a few hours from where we live, up in the forest area, and we have family with us. And my wife's younger brother has a newborn baby,
Hmm.
and like I think about Jesus coming and how they're like, this isn't our savior, this is a baby, right? But to me, we're gaining another family member, right?
Hmm.
And you see like how impactful that is, and the joy that even just a little baby brings to everyone around you, because everything shifts in the room when you have a baby in the room.
Yeah.
People start acting a little bit differently. Everyone has to be a little more caring. You want to provide a loving environment for a baby, but that's what God did for us. He brought Himself as a baby to be
Hmm.
like, we're going to change everything by one thing being born. It's just beautiful, like the symbolism and how he chose to do that. Because he came down and like changed everything and said, okay, we're done. We're changing everything. But he wouldn't get to see us grow as a father if he didn't have done it the way he's doing it. He doesn't get to see all the changes people make in themselves.
Yeah.
Which I imagine that's like they say whenever someone becomes a Christian, the heavens rejoice. Like, it just makes complete sense to me that they're changing and you can see it, and like all the angels rejoice with God and be like, we did it again. Like, this is amazing.
Got another one. We got another one.
It's like
the body's
falling in
growing.
love. When you get that love reciprocated from somebody you fall in love with, and it's like that special feeling you get with somebody that's like just one of the best feelings in the world. I'm sure that's how God feels towards us when we choose him.
Every single time.
Amen.
Single time. Yeah, that's a great point about a baby in a room. Like, what if people just acted like that?
Yeah.
What if everyone just kept that type of love and demeanor? Obviously not goo goo gaga, whatever, but like, just, you're right, because the energy in a room shifts when a baby's in the room. People are more peaceful, people are more calm, people try to, say nicer things. Like, yeah.
It's come full circle for me because my wife's grandmother just passed away a few months ago, and she was that light in a room. She always carried it, and she was just such a saint. And like you when you go in the same room every time, because she was always here when we were here at this house, and you just know, even if you were having a bad day or whatever, when you were on grandma, it was gonna be happy. Like, you weren't gonna change the mood. You weren't gonna bring your crap in the room with you. If you were gonna be around her, it's gonna be at nice and calm presence. It's gonna be cool. Like, it was just so nice. And she's not here with us right now, but she's like, you can feel the spirit of her left here.
Yeah.
So
which that actually goes back to the first part of the video with Wendy that we watched, where it's that energy walking into that room, right? Are you gonna let the dark energy have the power in the room, or are we gonna be the light that overpowers that darkness?
100%. I just want to say before one thing, like, I thought and we were watching that last clip, I like how they talked about how your emotions are part of who you are and how it brings fruit. Like, your fruit will be produced through it. And I was thinking about how sometimes, as a leader of your family, it's hard because, like, you can have something bad happen. Like, we've shared on the podcast, I had my roof had a huge problem with it, and it started leaking. And I was not letting my emotions were taking control of me, where I'm like super stressed out. Like, I don't want to spend all my savings to get this repaired, but my fruit was being produced when it wasn't good fruit. It was all the negativity I was feeling. And I shared with you later on, I'm like, I just got to put trust in God. And the minute I shifted all that and be like, God's going to take care of this, things started happening. I started finding answers. And, I had friends in our Bible study that were like, hey, I know a roofer. All these things started coming together, and it was just like, God's going to make this fine. Now, you can look like a complete basket case to somebody that doesn't believe in God, saying, God's going to take care of me.
Yeah.
But that peace you get when you start saying, like, I don't got this, God's got it. It's just this awesome way to live your life. And like, it's something you have to do every day. You have to change every day. Wake up and be like, okay, I'm trusting you, God. When something bad happens, okay, I'm trusting you, God. But just this podcast, man, it's so many good little nuggets that even like, I know I'm going to watch this podcast again. I bought the books for my wife, 2 of Wendy's books we bought so far. And I'm excited to start reading them and sharing them in the podcast if there's any like great nuggets, because I know there's going to be. I'd love to get to the next part of the podcast and let you hear one more thing, and maybe 2 if we have time for it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go into the next one.
But ask what's stealing the joy. And the other thing was pitifulness. I was raised in a church that the women's intercessory circle was so pitiful. It was like, the more pitiful you sounded to God, the more likely he was to answer. And so unconsciously, I developed a pitiful persona.
What did that sound like?
Oh, just always, oh God, I need you. Life is so hard, I'm in pain. It was almost like, I don't want to be happy because you'll think I'm okay. I need help, so I can't look like I'm having a good time.
Jeez.
And I remember listening to Joyce Myers, and God said to her one day, Joyce, you can either be pitiful or powerful, but you can't be both. And when she said that, I realized, it's a choice. I can either be pitiful or powerful. And God, he reminded me, said, "Did you raise your children to be pitiful or powerful?"
Mm.
I was like, yeah. I don't want pitiful children. I want children who are powerful and they know how to go after what they want. And it shifted, and that brought some of the joy back too. It was like, oh, I can be happy and I still know you're going to meet my needs. It's pitiful.
That is, it just reminds me. So like a child who cries to get their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And parents will sometimes give in and give them what they want when they cry and they throw a fit. And that's a learned behavior, right? And so they cry more when they want their way. And then if the parents don't actually stand their ground, you'll create a cycle of this. And I think that reminds me of that, because if you are going through a really hard time, if you're going through something and you truly like cry out to the Lord, you need help, he's going to be there and he's going to help you. And so I think it creates, like, for some people, this cycle of like, well, that worked. God helped me out when I was, like she said, pitiful in that moment. So I'm going to be more pitiful and more pitiful and more, but no, God will cut it off because he is a firm but fair father, like we should be as parents to our children. But he will be there if you truly need it and you cry out. But the rest of your time you have to live in that joy, and you have to be joyful, and you have to be strong and powerful and carry your weight in this life, right?
I totally agree. This part, I know it's a really short one we just showed, but
Mm-hmm.
it hit hard. It hit hard with me because I remember when I was working at that restaurant that I worked at prior to for a long time. It was that was my constant struggle, was coming into work, and like it never, as you've been an owner, and you kind of manage things as well as own things, the way,
Mm-hmm.
from what I've seen from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taking on, it's never good things. As a manager, you're always being brought problems. And for the longest time, all I did was kept my mindset as being like, all there's going to ever be is problems. Nothing's ever going to be good. And that joy that you have when everything is great, it's totally different. And I
Mm-hmm.
never carried it with me. I always carried the weight that it's just whatever, it's going to be worse every day. It's just going to
Yeah.
keep getting worse. But
Oven's not working, Steve. We're out of cheese. We blah blah blah. Just one thing after another.
it just broke me down. And I wasn't walking with God at that moment. Like, I just look back and see how he carried me through it. And like I got through it, everything's fine now. But when it was in the thick of it, like life just seemed like, okay, I'm a dad now, I'm a husband now, I've got to take all this responsibility on. Life is just gonna be hard. And I wore it, like I aged, like I went from having like no gray hair to like all this gray in my beard, you know.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
aged me so quickly. And if I would think I would have kept on that path, I'd probably would have took another 10 years off my life if I just
Yeah.
would have kept on doing it. So
Well, it's amazing. I mean, that's why the Bible talks so much about peace and about joy, and gives, so many examples of how to live our life. Because if we accept Jesus, if we have faith that Jesus, is our savior, that he died for our sins, that he rose, the whole thing, right? We're saved either way. He loves us and we're saved either way. We can walk miserably and pitifully, or we can walk in that power with authority and have joy in our lives and have peace in our lives. He gives us that if we want it, if
mhm.
we choose it. So it's what we have to choose in our lives is what God offers us.
Yeah.
Either way, we're saved. Either way, by believing and proclaiming that you're saved, but you can live pitifully or you can live powerfully.
Well, I mean, I think Jesus is the ultimate example of it, because even before he went to go be crucified and he knew what he was doing, he didn't have this moment where he's like, everything's going to be fine, everything good. He went and prayed and sweat blood because of he knew what he's going to go through. And he called out to God and said, if there's any way we can do this another way,
Yeah.
I trust in you. I know we're going to do the right thing. But like, he had his moments of like showing despair, which
Mm-hmm.
gives you some grace on yourself to go like, okay, something bad happened. You did have a moment where you were panicking. You did have a moment where you didn't trust in what the process was going to be through God. And then you have to understand that you do get that peace that comes soon that goes, okay, I thought I had this. It's not my responsibility, giving up to God. And you get to like change then on, and like then someone sees that peace that people don't understand when you don't have God in your life. Uh, I just think about my friends that you have made along the way that don't believe in God, and when they finally have something in life that tears them down, and you go, "Hey, I know there's no words I can give you, but there's my faith is something I can share with you that I think can give you peace." And it's always sad when you have that person that's going through something really hard, and you try and give them that solution, and they look at you and go, "Don't, please don't bring your Jesus into this." And you're like, "Okay," but you planted your seed. You said that Jesus can help them, and sometimes your seeds take root, and sometimes they don't. You know,
I actually
but
just saw a short. It wasn't an NDE. It was a guy talking about his uncle who this just reminded me of. It's completely off topic, but when you just said that, it reminded me of it. It was his uncle who was not a Christian. And anytime anybody tried bringing it up, you'd be like, get that garbage away from me. Like, I don't want to hear anything about that. And he got cancer. I believe he said cancer. But anyways, he was on his deathbed. And the guy's father, so his uncle's brother, his dad, went to talk to him, and he tried talking to him about Jesus, tried getting to accept it. And he's, same thing. I don't want to hear any of that. Get away from me with that. And as he was passing over, as he was dying, he started to say, "It's so hot. There's smoke all around me." And like started going into a panic and died.
wow,
And he had to watch that happen with his uncle who refused to accept Jesus. And they basically witnessed him entering hell as he died.
yeah, yeah,
That's scary. Like, to me, like, don't want to scare anyone into religion, but into Jesus, but that's scary.
yeah. I do think that's part of the problem when you deal with Christians in general. Is ultimately like when we talk to people and you say, we want to share who Jesus is and what he did for us, and like what that means. But then they say, well, what if I don't follow Jesus? And like, well, then you get to go to hell.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to hear
No
that.
one
Nobody
wants to
wants
hear
to
it.
hear that they weren't good enough in this life, that somebody wouldn't give them a chance afterwards. And it's tough because it's not what it's about. It's a free gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's too good to believe that somebody would give you that. So why how can you put your faith into something that's such an easy thing to give and receive? You know, it just it does once you get down to it. You start going, okay, well, if I do accept the gift, I have to start making some changes. I have to start seeing things from a different shift. I have to shift your paradigm and how you see things, and you realize that it's going to be a struggle for you to keep following that way because we're meant to be broken.
Yeah, but it's funny because when you do receive the Holy Spirit, it's those thoughts change naturally.
Yeah.
It's you don't want you don't have the desires you used to have.
Hmm.
Like I literally can't even imagine like wanting to go out and get hammered at the bars.
Yeah.
But that used to be every week. Like, oh man, I can't wait till Friday. Can't wait to go out and and party, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And now
Well, I
it's just
mean,
like like an instant change. Like, oh man, I,
Wendy touched on it in one of the clips. She talks about how if you're going to be in a church or part of a religion, it gets really nuanced in a competition kind of way where
mm,
everyone wants to prove they're the best and
mm,
the closest to God. And if you don't have that personal relationship with God, it's really hard. Like because if you find your values to your church and you don't come to God as who you are, because God knows who you are. So even if you're not following what the church might see as a person that's perfect or a good person to be a leader because you have flaws, it doesn't matter. Like you should accept everybody where they're at
mm-hmm.
and let them grow into being the Christian they're supposed to be. Because I know some Christians that don't read the Bible at all. And I was that Christian for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I didn't think that my walk with God was on the right path or I didn't have a relationship with God. But God does share that we're supposed to read the Bible. So once you start listening to what God tells you to do, it just starts to change everything. And I don't put my faith in a church. I don't put my faith in other men. I put, because they're going to let you down. You will have a church that lets you down. You will get heartbroken from a church. But if you're deeply rooted with God in your relationship with Him, it changes everything.
Yeah, we 100% our faith should be in God, not in the church, right?
Right. I think that, you can find a really great church, but you still shouldn't put all your faith in a church.
No, not at all.
Pastors will let you down, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's remembering no matter what, humans are humans.
hmm
Whether they're a pastor, whether they're, whatever, a group leader at your church, whether they're just someone who serves, they're humans. So
yeah,
everyone is going to make their mistakes and everyone is going to have their sins. And it's you don't have your faith in that. What you do is you accept it as a community, accept it as a group of people that you want to be around and enjoy being around, and just knowing that your faith is in God still, no matter what.
hmm
That's who you have to put all of it in. All of your faith and trust is in God, and the church is just there to fellowship, basically.
yeah, yeah. I went to a Christian leadership. It's like all the pastors in the East Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the entire meeting and session was like it was like an hour long, and they had a guest speaker. I don't remember his name, but his entire message was about pastors and church leaders stopping being so involved with your church and focus on your family and like your marriages.
Hmm.
He says because there's the guy that's basically like I come across so many pastors that they're preaching on stage about how they're supposed to treat their wives and their kids, and then like all they do is give to their church, 100% to the church, and they never spend time with their family. And he's like, you need to fix that at home first, and then get to your church. But I think it's relatable to if you're giving everything to your church and you're not giving your time to God. It's almost like you need to put your family first. God is your family. And then if you have time for your church, if you can be a leader, if you can do these things, then you do give the extra stuff you have. You give the extra light that you have to give off and, but put things in order first and like help your family be close to God. Because like I know some people, like even myself, who like I'll go to help people at church and stuff like that, or be asking a text from somebody that needs help. And I have stuff at home I gotta take care of.
Yeah.
I have people in my family that I need to start pouring into, and it's a daily thing, And things like we talked about people growing. Sometimes you get big nuggets of like awesome change, and then sometimes you take 5 steps back the next day, and you're like, oh, okay, gotta keep working on
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. I don't, and like you said, with like yourself, trying to serve or help someone at your church, whatever, and having to take care of your family. Like, I don't think people realize how difficult a job a pastor has.
100%.
Like, they've got an entire congregation coming to them with their problems and with their, wanting to talk to you about this. And you've got someone who didn't like what your message was. And you've
hmm
got, someone who thinks that you should give a sermon about this, and you have to deal with so many things. But that would make sense why at a leadership conference they would talk about taking care of your family first, because it would be easy to fall into that trap of neglecting your family because you have to give so much to your church.
We live in a world that acts like every single day is a Super Bowl, and you can only pick one or two teams. Like you can't be on both sides.
Hmm.
You can be the people that say I don't care about football, but that kind of ruins the analogy a little bit. But in life, that's it's not football teams. It's what you believe in, and we're constantly being told you need to pick sides on everything nowadays. And that's kind of like where I was like, I'm getting out of this race, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not picking sides anymore. I'm for everybody. And that's the only way I can actually live as a Christian. I can't walk around and be like, oh, you have blue hair, you have a bunch of piercings, um, and we're probably not going to get along if we start talking about our beliefs. That's not a good way to start an interaction or relationship with anybody. So, like for me, lately, the people that I have not gotten along with in the past, the first thing I tell them is ask them how they're doing, and then I say, it's kind of crazy. I got off screens for the last 3 months, or not, sorry, for 30 days, and it's been really awesome to just be in the world. And almost every single time I say 9 times out of 10, I've shared that with the people. They go, I'm so tired of the news too. I should check out of it too. I
Yep.
should, and then we just have a great conversation about what it's been like for me to get off and like just engage with people
It,
again.
like you said, the news, the media, just our society in general has made everything separated. Pick your
Hmm.
sides, right? Be on one side or the other. There is no middle ground. But I don't, it's made people forget that we have things in common with every person. There
Hmm.
is definitely something you can find in common with someone who might be on the opposite side of your political spectrum or on the opposite side of this or whatever that you feel like you've been divided against. Everyone has things in common and you can work from that place. And society has forgotten that completely.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like with us taking a little bit of a break from like we went from doing 1 day a week on the podcast to doing 3 days. And a lot of that was because of me, because I'm like, dude, there's so much happening in the world that we can't even get to if we don't do this more. And you've been appeasing to that and say, okay, let's go more. And then I decided to tell you, like, I'm getting off screens, right? And it's a kind of where we're starting from where we started from like, originally. But it made me think of the Bible and how you have these gaps in the Old Testament where they don't write anything down that God was moving in a way that they felt like it was necessary to put in the Bible. But I can only imagine what that felt like to be in the time where you're like God hasn't been around here for 400 years, like I think that speaks volumes to what we're supposed to be doing as Christians in our podcast, even where we don't need to just throw out a show to just say we're part of this world because we're saying we're not of this world.
Yeah.
And slowing down and like listening to what you've had to say as my partner doing this and like being like, Josh had some good points. I need to listen to what you were saying and reflecting on it. And like just even though this episode, it should have been episode number 2 in my eyes, but we got caught up in everything happening with rapture talk and all these things happening that we're like, whoa, what happens if something Jesus does come back? Well, we need to make sure everyone's ready for that. Maybe the message should have been this all along on the second one. Instead of a rapture talk, we talked about this stuff, you know? And hopefully it does reach one person, Like that's all we want is to reach one person. If can learn who Jesus is through us and feel like we're your friends. Like, if you met us on the streets, we're the same exact people on the podcast. Like we're not personalities that are trying to be fake. Like we're being pretty dang real with who we are and vulnerable, emotional, all these different things. Like I don't think everyone gets that all the time, especially online. A lot of people put up a big fake persona.
Yeah, and we see it with with starting the podcast and doing stuff. You get your little analytics report, right?
Mhm.
And since looking at that a little bit, I can watch other podcasts and I can see how they're doing certain things to appease what the analytics say, right?
Mhm.
So all of these end up getting shifted. And like we've talked about, I don't want to follow that. Like
Right.
we are here to talk about God and to hopefully get through, you know, get through to some people or to
Mhm.
help someone or bring someone to God. That's our intention, right?
Right.
And what am I even saying with this? I just
Well,
feel like so many other people shift what their show might have originally started to be just so they can get the viewers and the numbers and the likes.
right.
And I don't
You want to
want to
make it
ever
everything
have to do
clickbait.
that.
Right. Like we were going towards like supernatural stuff for a little bit, and because we was Halloween and whatnot, and we
Mhm.
get a lot of clicks on like some of the things we did, but you're like, and it feels good, like I'm doing this for God, um, but then you wanted also the validation, like I did. I'm like, well, I'm working really hard on this. I want the validation, and I was making it more and more about me.
Mm.
I'd say it's for God, and my mouth and my actions wanted to make it look like it was about God, but I was making it about me. It's like I'm like, this could be a good opportunity for me. This could change my life. This could do this. And I take a step back because for anyone who watches our show, some people just subscribe from our shorts. So they don't even watch our show. We get a lot of our subscribers from shorts.
Yeah.
And that's humbling, even though because I think it goes back to spreading your seeds. Like we don't get to see sometimes the message that we put out. But some of our shorts are pretty good. Some of them they're AI made, so some of them are not great. But you never know. The said saying we're spreading our seeds. We've been viewed over. We're gonna hit 1 million views before we even know it, just from shorts and our videos. And we don't get to see those seeds sometimes.
Yeah.
we might have planted a seed one day where one of our videos changed someone's day. And they said, I'm going to trust God that day. And God was like, we get to heaven and God's going to be like, you didn't even know what you're doing, man. You were doing what I asked you to do.
That's the
So,
hope.
yeah. So we don't
That's
get to
the hope.
experience it all the time, but
Yeah.
we keep on talking about people putting off like pastures and stuff like that. And I always think of like Robin Williams, who I think is one of the greatest comedians of our generation, of our lifetime, and just the joy he brought to the world and the way his life ended. And we got to keep in mind, even if you're being this joyful person, that everybody hurts. Everybody's not perfect. Our pastor is nothing. So
And going into what Wendy said to back that up, that's why our emotions have to match what those thoughts are.
mm-hmm.
You can't
That's
just
tough.
you can manufacture that joy falsely, but it's not real joy. It's not the real oil unless your emotions actually match it. And Robin Williams is a perfect example of that. You don't know that that person's hurting inside because they're
Right.
putting on this face and they're making everyone else have joy and laughter off of their actions, but what's
Right.
inside of them is actually, is hurting. So
That's exactly why I thought the Matthew McConaughey thing when I started talking about this was perfect. Happiness is result reliant. So if you're waiting for something in your day to make you happy, I will be happy when I get this raise. I will be happy when my wife starts doing what I ask her to do the way I asked her to do it. When my kids start listening to me for the leadership that I'm giving them, but they're not listening to me yet. You have to live your life as if these things are happening no matter what. And you find that not through the reactions of things happening around you. It's about choosing to be like, okay, this isn't the way I want it yet, but I'm going to carry myself at all times like it's the way I need it to be because God provided this for me. It's such an easy thing to say, harder to put in action and do it daily. It's a daily constant reminder. Like this is a choice, So.
Yeah, it really is. That whole happiness thing is that's a big part of like new age stuff. And you hear like a lot of people like, I'm just trying to find my happiness and blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And it's like that's not gonna get you anything. You're gonna be
Yeah,
chasing happiness forever. You're
that's
gonna have moments of happiness, but you're never gonna just be happy.
that's part of this podcast. And I don't think we'll get to it. They talk a lot about new age and
Mm-hmm.
new age. I'm sure you remember this part. I thought you'd really like this part. It talks about how new age basically takes everything from Christianity and repackages it as a different religion.
Yeah, that's
And
all it
then
is. It's just it's 90% Christianity taking Jesus away.
mm-hmm. And they just say that they actually said like they're jealous of it because they're like they actually do a better job of getting people to join because it's different. It's they're selling the same thing. It's just you don't tell you're going to go to hell if you don't do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which we just talked about the rapture stuff and everything, and like that was one of the things is you start thinking Jesus is coming back any day now, and you will start living differently if
Yeah.
you're a Christian. And that's a tight, narrow walk to walk because you wouldn't ask your kids to do the same thing. You wouldn't say, "Hey, I'm leaving." But I mean, Jesus does talk about this, but so maybe it's a bad analogy, but um, you can't live your life that way. That's not what God wants you to do. He wants you to be out there like living your life a joyful life, and when you make a mistake, come back to Him
Yeah,
because you're gonna make mistakes. We're not perfect; neither one of us are. So,
we all do.
do you want to try and get to the last clip? It's about 5 minutes long, or would you rather like
I
try and
think we
end it?
covered everything today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got the point across. We're at an hour and 40 minutes, so
Do you just to end it? Do you have of all your um Bible quotes? Is there one because you chose 3 or 4? Is there
I did
one
4.
that 4? Is there one now that after we've talked about all this, does it resonate? Because they were all good. I'm not trying to pick the best one. I'm just saying, is there one that you look back on now and go like, we really nailed this Bible scripture. Like we're living out what we're reading and living.
Um, I mean, they all just going back to the first one. It's just so
Nehemiah.
simple. Huh? Yeah, Nehemiah. It's just so simple. Nehemiah 8:10. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. And
Hmm.
I mean, it's what a great one-liner, right? I
Do you
mean,
want to sing us? You want to sing us out?
Yeah. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I told you, it
For
sticks in
anyone,
my head. When
for
that
anyone that
song,
doesn't
like when I
know,
hear it,
Josh is
it's
the worship
in
leader
my
for
head.
our podcast.
Literally in between every line we've spoke today, it's just going through my head. The joy of the Lord.
Yeah, but you remember before we get out of here, that song "Champion." You said you played it the first time you went to that conference, and
Yes, yeah.
it played on the radio the other day, and I just every time I hear that song, I think of you now.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, for what
So
it's
I
worth.
am your champion.
You are well.
Just kidding.
You didn't hear me because I think we were talking over each other, but I said you're now in charge of worship for our
Oh, okay.
podcast.
Perfect. I'm
So
gonna
what's
probably learn to play guitar real quick.
the funny thing is though, we might get a copyright strike for you singing that because you got
Are
such
you
a beautiful
serious?
voice. We might actually.
For singing a line of a song?
Yeah, that's how bad it is.
Wow. Well, I think Christian
Cool.
songs aren't necessarily copyrighted, are they? Like, because they
They
all
are.
use them all the same. Like,
Mm-mm. You
no?
pay for all that stuff. Yeah, if you go to church and you sing a song that's a on the radio and stuff, you have to pay to have the words on the board and all the stuff you pay to those people.
Just like God intended it.
Yeah, well, Corey Asbury, you know who that is? The Christian
I've heard the
singer.
name.
He and Forrest Frank have become buddies, and he was a little critical of Forrest Frank, and then they finally met each other and talked, and he was exposing how Christian music's not all great, and I think you shared that you feel that way sometimes too.
Hmm.
Not every person singing it believes what they're singing, and he's kind of exposing like this is about money, and so yeah, that's all. We could get a copyright. I don't know. Your voice is so pretty, so maybe they just think it's something different. You made it up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
All
not gonna
right.
sing. No one wants to
Okay.
hear that.
I kind of do. No, I really do.
We'll do it off air,
Okay.
and then you let me know.
Stop recording. Yeah, let me hear it now. What do you got?
I think that's a good time to end the show.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you got something from the show today. If anything,
Yeah.
just that joy. Walk in the joy of the Lord. Feel it in your emotions. Can't just say it. Feel it in your emotions. Trust in the Lord. He is there providing everything, and everything will be okay. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what season you're in, what you're feeling right now in this moment. He's working it for the good, and eventually you'll see that when it all comes into fruition.
All right. We'll see you guys next year, 2026.
Oh yeah,
So
Happy
we'll see
New
what God.
Year.
Yeah, we'll see what God does with it.
Happy New Year, 2026. All right, bye guys.
Have a safe one. Bye.
Stop recording.